Thank you.
Good evening. I'm a neuroscientist, I'm a biologist. So the way I see the brain is that it's essentially made up of neurons, the cells, like Professor Ranjan mentioned. They are all connected to each other, they work together. And what do? In the brain, we get all the information about the world around us with our senses. There's some computation going on in the brain. Memories are formed, thoughts are there, learning is there, and there's this entity called consciousness, which comes higher than cognition, as our secretary had also said. And finally, there is an output. Output is usually some kind of a movement related output. That's really what the brain is all about. Until recently, we didn't know what's going on. We had an input and we had an output. Now we have this new imaging technology that has shown that we can actually peer inside a brain and predict what you are thinking. Yeah. We can predict what you are going to do. We can actually capture your dreams. We can do a whole lot of stuff. So we are at a stage now we can start to build a model of the brain. Now this is where the problem comes. We understand how neurons function, how do they transmit information. We know little bit information about what kind of a network they form. They form a very complex network, just like an internet, but many, many times more complex. We don't understand it fully. But we have no idea, absolutely no idea how that emergent property is emerging from the structure. We need some deep insight which can happen perhaps 5 years from now or maybe 50 years from now, I have no idea, which will give us a theory of the brain function, which you can call theory of mind, something like Einstein idea of relativity, which needs information. And then we will probably try to understand how does the brain function, how does the brain put all the information together, compute something, and gives the output. So this is what is lacking as a neuroscientist, what my goal is to actually understand how does the brain do all this. This is from a biologist point of view. I personally do not believe mind is something beyond biology, beyond brain. That's my personal belief. I may be wrong, I may be right. I do not know that. I think mind is just sum total of all the activity of the brain. Now we come to how do we challenge it with the machines, or how do the machine challenge brain? Now, if most of you will remember something called a Turing test, which is more than half a century old. The idea that was put forward was that if there's a machine behind a curtain and you give an input in a very simple way and machine produces an output, and the observer cannot distinguish whether the output was given by a human being or by a machine, that means we have created a machine which is intelligent. Now that's partly true, that's not partly true, because essentially we have created a robotic device which can do a lot of things that a human brain can do, but can it think of itself? Does it have consciousness? Does it know who am I? Does it know if there is some other human being that has a brain too, right? That's a being. So that's something that is missing from the Turing test, and that is something unique about the brain. And that is something we have to worry about. In the future, if machines or computers or robots actually are able to become like that. And that's the caution that I think is being projected in various scientific forums, that we have to be worried about us. We are essentially creating a new species at that stage. Can we do that? I think we can do that. The reason we have not been able to do that is we still don't have a definition of consciousness. The definition of consciousness, once it emerges, we will be able to tell that we have created it. Okay? As far as enhancement of brain is concerned, that has been happening right from the beginning. When we train a soldier, we are programming soldier's brain. When we train a student, we learn a language, we are programming our brains. I see personally absolutely no problems with if the brain is enhanced by some other technique, some other technology. This is all technology. It might be old technology, but it is all technology. So there's no issue if we could download a book into the brain in the future. That's fine. I mean, why not? It's just a faster learning. I don't want to learn for 10 years in the school if I can do it in 5 days. I can learn a lot more during my lifetime. Can we enhance human body by the brain, by the machines? Professor Ranjan showed some brain-computer interface devices. I am myself interested in that. I am surprised that we have never met before with a common interest like this. This is something that's happening, and this is something that's going to happen. The only hindrance to that, to take it to the next level, is what I stated first. We do not still understand how does the brain code information. The day we understand that, we will have brain-controlled machines which will be able to do anything that we can think of. Okay? He talked about some questions he posed. Can we brain become part of the network? And that reminds me of the species whose name I forgot, that Captain Picard on Space Enterprise used to meet, where all beings of that species were interconnected with each other. So we are already interconnected with each other through internet, right? So there's just one step ahead of that. I'll just address and then I'll close so that because time is running late. Madam talked about brain transplant. I think we should not think of it as a brain transplant. I personally like to think of it as a body transplant. Being is the brain, like an eye transplant, arm transplant, hand transplant. We are essentially talking of, we are preserving the brain and we are changing the body. And if you look at it that way, things become a little bit simpler for everybody, right? Face transplant has a big problem in the beginning because you're changing identity of the person. So all you're doing is replacing rest of the body too. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.